They thought you'd chase. You didn't. They thought you'd fall apart. You stood still. And now every second of your silence is echoing like a threat they can't ignore. Folks, I need you to sit with this truth. People who underestimate your silence are the ones who feared your voice the most. The moment you went quiet, they expected a reaction. Maybe tears, maybe a desperate text, maybe an argument. That's how the game usually plays out, right? They pull back. You chase. They go cold. You beg for warmth. But you, my friend, chose something different. You chose control. You chose calm. You chose stoic silence. And that silence, it's shaking them. Let me break it down for you. Manipulators, emotionally unavailable types, attention seekers, they don't fear confrontation. They feed off of it. But what terrifies them is the sound of their own thoughts bouncing off your absence. They need your reaction like a thief needs darkness. Without it, they're exposed. That's why they're scared now. Not because you're gone, but because you're quiet. And that silence is louder than any fight they've ever had. See, when you stop explaining yourself, they start questioning themselves. When you stop reaching out, they start reaching inward. And that's where the panic begins. Because now they have to sit with their choices. They have to sit with the way they treated you. The things they said. The things they didn't say. And folks, trust me, silence is a mirror. It shows them the reflection they tried to avoid. And it's not flattering. They thought you'd be broken. They expected you to beg, to plead, to crawl back. But instead, you became the calm after the storm. And now they are the ones trembling. It's like removing oxygen from a fire. Watch how fast it starts suffocating. That's your silence. It's not just peace, it's pressure. Pressure on their ego. Pressure on their pride, pressure on the fake story they told themselves about you. They thought they could replace you, but now every quiet second is proof they messed up. You see, silence isn't weakness. It's power, it's composure, it's letting the chaos collapse on its own. And the longer you stay silent, the deeper the cracks get in their story. They're starting to wonder if they read you wrong. Maybe you weren't so easy. Maybe you weren't so desperate. Maybe, just maybe, they lost something irreplaceable. And that thought, it haunts them. Let this sink in. Your silence is not passive. It's active. It's deliberate. It's psychological warfare without saying a word. And if they're laying in bed wondering if you still care, if you've moved on, if someone else is getting your loyalty, then, my friend, you've already won. Now, stay with me. If this is hitting your soul, press that like button and subscribe right now, because we're only getting deeper from here. You didn't lose them. They lost access to you. And now they're terrified of what silence might confirm. Now listen, my friends, don't just hear this message, own it. Don't let it pass through you like another feel-good quote on the internet. This silence you're holding, it's not emptiness, it's evidence. Evidence that you've grown past begging for recognition. Evidence that you've mastered restraint. Evidence that you can let your peace do the talking. So, I want you to claim that strength right now. Don't just agree with it, declare it. Go to the comments and write this down. My silence is power. Say it like a vow, not a phrase. Say it like you're reminding the universe that you don't chase energy. You attract it. Every time you type it, you're rewiring your mind, telling yourself, I don't react, I observe, I don't crumble, I rise, I don't lose, I evolve. And while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe, not for me, but for the version of you that refuses to break anymore. Stay with me, because we're only getting started, and I promise you, the one who stays calm the longest always wins. So keep your silence sharp, keep your spirit steady, keep your energy sacred, stay quiet, stay grounded, stay unstoppable. Number 1. They didn't expect your stillness to echo louder than their words. They didn't expect your stillness to echo louder than their words, and now that echo is bouncing around their empty little world like a warning bell they can't shut off. You see, folks, when someone tries to provoke you, manipulate you, or emotionally drain you, they're not doing it for chaos, they're doing it for control. They want to lead you into a reaction. That's the bait, because once you react, once you argue, once you beg or try to explain yourself, you hand over your power wrapped in your own emotion. But the moment you chose stillness, real, grounded, unbothered stillness, you flipped the entire game. Most people have a script, a cycle they've played with others before you. They do something hurtful and the other person breaks down, cries, texts, calls, maybe even screams. That drama, that emotional spiral, that's familiar ground for them. They know how to operate there. It keeps them from feeling guilty. But when you do nothing, when you don't respond, don't explain, don't even flinch, it leaves them with nothing to push against. And that's when their own words start turning inward like poison. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's exactly what your silence is forcing them to do. They have no noise from you to hide behind, no emotional fog to cloud the truth. They're left sitting in the still air of your absence, and that quiet is revealing everything they tried to suppress. About themselves, about what they did to you, and about the story they told themselves to feel superior. They didn't expect it to hurt, but it does. Why? Because silence isn't just nothing. It's everything they're not ready to face. It's the weight of accountability. It's the mirror they can't dodge. It's the pressure of knowing you could say something, but chose not to. And that's what terrifies them, that you have the power to speak, but don't. That you have the power to return, but won't. It's like standing in a room where someone left the door wide open, but chose not to walk back in. They keep looking toward it, waiting, hoping, but nothing comes, and that nothing starts to feel like a punishment they can't escape. Now maybe you're sitting there wondering, but why do they even care? They treated me like I was disposable. Let me tell you something real. People don't regret what they lose right away. They regret what they lose when they realize it's irreplaceable. And you, my friend, were never part of the background. You were the gravity that held it all together. But sometimes people don't feel gravity until they're weightless, drifting, and alone. That's what your silence gave them. Space. And that space is cold. They expected noise from you. They expected desperation. They expected a meltdown they could point at and say, "See, they're crazy." But all they got was stillness, and that stillness said more than any speech could. It said, "I'm not fighting for a place where I was never seen. I'm not explaining myself to someone committed to misunderstanding me. I'm not chasing what should have never run from me in the first place." This is the turning point. The place where they realize you are not the storm they thought you were. You are the sky after it. The kind of silence that doesn't need to prove anything because its presence is already proof. Jung said it best. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your silence is making their unconscious guilt bubble to the surface. And now they don't know what to call it, except regret. So I want you to sit with that. Let it empower you. Let it remind you that doing nothing can sometimes be the most powerful move on the board. You're not weak for going quiet. You're wise. You're calm. You're healing. You're watching their chaos unravel itself without you needing to lift a single finger. Drop this in the comments. My silence echoes strength. Type it out like it's your badge of honor, because it is. Your silence is the signal that you are no longer reactive. You are no longer spinning in their orbit. You are the center of your own calm, and they're the ones feeling the emptiness they created. Stay still, stay focused, stay powerful. Number 2, you're not calling, and it's making them question everything. They got used to the sound of your presence. Maybe it was a good morning text, a heart reaction to their story, a double message if they didn't reply the first time. You were the reliable one, the emotionally available one, the one who didn't leave people hanging. So when you suddenly went quiet, no texts, no calls, no subtle check-ins, it didn't just confuse them, it shook them, because deep down, they never thought you'd really stop. And now, that silence is growing teeth. The phone doesn't ring, the notifications stay dry, they check their messages, maybe just out of habit at first, but then it turns into obsession. Did I miss something? Did they block me? Wait, are they just done? The absence that used to feel like peace to them is now a growing anxiety. Because here's the thing, people don't start to question their actions when you talk. They start to question when you don't. When they were sure you'd always reach out, they played it cool, delayed responses, dry replies, maybe even ignored you for hours or days. They thought they had the upper hand, the power, the control. But now, every minute of your silence is unraveling that illusion. That upper hand is slipping. And suddenly, the one who once felt pursued starts to feel abandoned. You see, silence done once can be brushed off, but silence done consistently, that messes with the mind. It forces people to fill in the blanks with their own guilt, their own insecurity, their own fear, and those questions start multiplying fast. Did I take it too far? Are they seeing someone else? Was I really that hard to love? And let's be honest, when someone has treated you like an option for so long, nothing terrifies them more than realizing they've become irrelevant to you. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists." And now, the very attention they use to reject is the one they crave. The silence you've mastered is echoing in all the corners of their ego. Corners they never had to face before. It's not about revenge. It's not about pretending to move on. It's about showing them that their assumption that you'd always be available was dead wrong. And let's address the thought that might be creeping into your head right now. But if they miss me, why aren't they calling me? See, ego is a tricky thing. Some people will let their pride burn the bridge, even while they stand there hoping you'll swim back across. But don't mistake that silence for indifference. Silence from someone who once expected your chase is usually fear wearing a mask. They're hoping, waiting, watching. But they can't be the one to move now, because if they do, they'll have to admit they got it wrong. Your silence isn't just confusing them anymore, it's challenging them. It's confronting the story they told themselves about you, the story where you needed them, where you couldn't go a day without them, where they were the prize. But now, you're rewriting that story one unanswered message at a time, and every word you don't say is a new chapter they weren't prepared to read. So stay silent, stay consistent, let them feel the weight of your absence fully, because the ones who thought they could treat your heart like a backup plan are now sitting in quiet rooms, staring at screens, wondering where it all went wrong. Write this in the comments. My silence makes them question everything. Say it with your chest. You're no longer the one chasing clarity. You are the clarity. You're not the one seeking closure. You became the closure. Stay silent, stay steady, stay 10 steps ahead. Number 3. The fantasy of replacing you just collapsed. At first, they thought it would be easy. Swipe, flirt, laugh, repeat. Post a news story with someone new, line up a few dates, maybe even sleep with someone just to prove to themselves, to the world, that they're over it, that you were forgettable, that you were just another page in their book. But that illusion, that quick, careless fantasy of replacing you, it's collapsing now, cracking under the pressure of your absence. Because here's the truth, folks. You can't replace energy. You can't duplicate depth, and once someone's tasted real connection, nothing artificial satisfies. At first, it probably looked like they were having the time of their life. New selfies, late-night outings, laughs that felt a little too loud. It was all part of the performance. They weren't moving on. They were running. Running from the silence you left behind, running from the emotional accountability they never had to face before. They tried to swap you out like a broken bulb, thinking another would light up their world just the same. But now, that light's already flickering. Because here's what happens when someone's soul touches something authentic. Nothing fake ever feels right again. They tried to plug someone else into your space, hoping the shape would fit. But it didn't, because you weren't just a body. You were a presence. You didn't just talk. You listened. You didn't just love. You understood. And understanding, that's rare. That's expensive. That's what they didn't realize they were losing until it was gone. You see, people often confuse attention for connection. Just because someone laughs at their jokes or answers their texts doesn't mean they feel seen. And now, after all the pretending, all the loud noise and distractions, they're sitting quietly with that realization. This new person isn't you. They don't get the jokes the same way. They don't ask questions that matter. They don't challenge them to grow. And worst of all, they don't feel anything when they're with them. Now the rebound feels like a mistake, a rushed decision made to bandage a wound that keeps bleeding. And they're starting to compare, not on purpose, but unconsciously. That's how the mind works. Carl Jung called it the shadow. The part of the self that hides all the uncomfortable truths, and now that shadow is whispering, you messed up, you had something rare, you lost it. And maybe they won't admit it out loud, maybe they'll keep posting and pretending, but you better believe it's sinking in. The fantasy has snapped, the mask is slipping, because even in a room full of people, if the soul isn't met, they'll still feel alone. And that's what you left behind. Not just love, not just memories, but a standard, a presence that won't be outshined. They thought they could downgrade and not feel the drop. But now every laugh feels a little hollow, every kiss feels like an echo, and every moment spent with someone new is just another reminder of what you brought to the table, what you made them feel, what they'll never find again. Not like that. Write this in the comments. They can't replace real. Say it with pride, because you were never competing. You were the blueprint, and now their fantasy is falling apart, all because you chose to walk away with grace, and they tried to substitute what was never meant to be duplicated. Stay calm, stay rare, stay unforgettable. Number 4. They're playing it cool, but your silence is making them spiral. They look calm, don't they? Smiling in their stories, posting cryptic quotes like they've suddenly found inner peace, hanging out with new people, sharing laughter that somehow feels louder than before. On the surface, they're unbothered. detached, living their best life. But, my friends, don't let that polished exterior fool you, because behind all that performative coolness is a storm they can't seem to control. And guess what triggered it? Your silence. See, when people lose something real but still want to save face, they slip into what psychology calls defensive detachment. It's a show, not for you, but for themselves. It's them trying to convince their own mind that they're fine, that your absence doesn't sting, that they're not secretly checking your page or wondering why you haven't broken the silence. It's ego wearing a mask, and that mask, it's starting to crack. Here's the truth. When someone expected you to react, to cry, to beg, to chase, and instead you responded with silence, it leaves them with no control. You robbed them of the script. They can't win an argument you're not having. They can't feel superior to someone who's no longer seeking their attention. And that loss of emotional control, it turns their mind into a battlefield. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." So while they're out there pretending, performing, acting like they've moved on, your consistent silence is revealing something deeper. They haven't. Because stillness exposes the truth. And your stillness is now holding up a mirror to everything they didn't want to see. They're spiraling in quiet ways, losing sleep, second-guessing their decisions, replaying old conversations, and wondering if they misread everything. They won't tell their friends this part. They won't post that side of the story. But it's happening. Because silence doesn't just create distance, it creates doubt. And when someone is unsure of where they stand with you, they start to crumble from the inside out. You're not even reaching out. You're not defending yourself. You're not fighting for closure. And that's exactly why they can't relax, because they don't know where they sit in your world anymore. And the fear of being replaced, forgotten, or worse, unbothered by you, is driving them insane. It's a quiet breakdown. No tears in public, no angry rants, just mental rewinds and emotional what-ifs. Why haven't they texted me? Did they ever really care? Are they talking to someone else now? These questions are relentless. Because your silence has taken away the only thing they thought they'd always have, your attention. And look, you may not feel it. You may still be healing. You might even be tempted to think your silence isn't doing anything. But don't underestimate the psychological pressure it places on someone who was used to being in control. You're not ignoring them. You're reclaiming your peace. And that's the most threatening thing of all to someone who thrived on keeping you emotionally tangled. Write this in the comments. My silence is shaking them. Because it is. No matter how calm they pretend to be, your silence is the one voice they can't drown out. It lingers, it echoes, it cuts deeper than words. And the longer you hold that line, the more they feel it. In their mind, in their ego, in their chest. Stay still. Stay firm. Stay unpredictable. Number 5. Every post you don't make is a message they can't decode. They're watching more closely now, not because you're posting something, but because you aren't. Every day you don't upload a story. Every week you don't update your status. Every moment you stay absent from their screen. It whispers something they can't interpret. And that whisper, it's turning into a scream inside their head. In a world where oversharing is the default, mystery has become magnetic. Your silence online isn't just unnoticed. It's unsettling. See, when people go silent in real life, it's one thing. But when they disappear online, in this digital age, that hits different, because social media has become the mirror people use to judge how okay someone is after a breakup, or rejection. They scroll through your profile, hoping to catch signs of struggle or signs of longing. They expect cryptic quotes, sad songs, maybe a selfie that looks like it's trying too hard. That's the playbook. And when you don't follow it, when you post nothing at all, their mind has no script to run, and it begins spiraling. The brain hates uncertainty. Carl Jung understood this well. He believed that what is unknown becomes projected, meaning when someone doesn't know what you're thinking, they start projecting their own fears onto your silence. Maybe you've moved on. Maybe you're doing better than they are. Maybe you just don't care anymore, and they don't know. They can only guess, and guessing leads to fear, and fear leads to obsession. They might have even tried to pretend they weren't checking, but don't be fooled. They've searched your name. They've clicked your profile. They've probably hovered over your last seen timestamp and wondered why it hasn't changed. That silence isn't just blank space to them. It's mental chaos. And the longer you keep that stillness, the more their ego begins to panic. Let's talk straight. If you are constantly updating, posting subliminals, or showing your sadness online, they'd sleep easy, because then they'd know you still care, that you're still emotionally tethered to them. But your silence? It's different. It signals detachment, growth, strength. And that is the last thing someone who thought you'd break wants to believe. You're not giving them a window into your healing, and that's what's tearing them up. Because healing in public is something they can watch, monitor, and control. But when you go quiet, when you heal in private, they lose all grip. And now they're forced to sit with one terrifying thought. What if I lost someone who actually meant it? You're not trying to provoke them, you're not trying to manipulate them, but silence has a way of revealing who was truly in control all along. And now every post you don't make is making more noise than 1,000 status updates ever could. It's saying, I don't need you to see me healing. I'm not interested in proving I'm okay. I am okay. So while they refresh your profile for the 5th time today, hoping for a breadcrumb, give them none. Let them sit in the void they created. Let them feel what it's like when your energy is no longer available on demand. Now go to the comments and write this. My absence speaks volumes. Say it with pride. Say it like someone who no longer needs to prove a thing, because you don't. You're not just silent, you're sacred now. Stay private, stay rare, stay unreadable. Number 6. They're rewriting the story, but it's too late. Now that you're gone, truly gone, not just quiet for effect, they're starting to revisit the story they told themselves about you. The one where you were too sensitive, the one where they claimed you were too emotional, too attached, too much. That narrative served their ego. It made it easier to detach, easier to walk away, easier to feel superior. But now, in the deafening quiet you left behind, that story is falling apart. Your silence is forcing them to face what they never wanted to admit. They were wrong about you. See, it's easy to rewrite someone in your head when they're still reacting. When you're blowing up their phone, crying, explaining, begging, they use that as fuel to justify their version of you. See? I knew they were desperate. They always overreact. But when you stop playing that role, when you go completely still, the script starts to lose structure. And what's left behind? Guilt, regret, realization. They called you needy, but now they miss the depth of your presence. They said you were too intense, but now they crave the kind of emotional honesty you brought to the table. They told people you were the problem. But now, in their quiet moments, they're wondering if maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was how they avoided real connection. Maybe it was how they kept people at arm's length just to protect their fragile sense of control. Carl Jung believed that what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. And now that they're no longer resisting the thought of you, now that you're not there to push against, your value is growing in their mind. You are no longer the version of yourself they distorted. You're becoming clearer in their memory, stronger, wiser, and that reflection is uncomfortable for someone who discarded you, thinking you'd stay small. They may not say it out loud, they may not send the apology, but they are rewriting the internal narrative, not because they want to, but because they have to, because you've changed, or maybe you've always been like this, and they just never saw it. That part, that's eating them alive, and now they're stuck in a strange emotional space. Regret wrapped in silence, want wrapped in pride. They thought they could define your story, but you walked away and rewrote it yourself, with dignity, with growth, with calm power. You didn't just survive what they did. You evolved from it. Let that be your strength. You don't need to correct their version of you. You don't need to scream your side of the story into a void. They're doing the correcting all by themselves now. Their mind is spinning in the silence. The longer you stay silent, the more they edit. And by the time they finally see you for who you truly are, not the person they imagined, but the one they lost, it's too late. That chapter has closed, and this version of you doesn't go back. Write this in the comments. They misjudged me. I outgrew their story. Let that truth settle in your bones. Because you didn't just walk away, you evolved into someone they were never ready to understand. Stay rewritten, stay unbothered, stay untouchable. Number 7. You flipped the game without lifting a finger. They never saw it coming. One moment they were pulling strings, watching you react, feeling untouchable. The next, you went quiet, not angry, not bitter, just still. No rant, no dramatic exit, no long message explaining your pain. You just stepped back without a single ounce of begging or revenge. And in that silence, something powerful happened. You flipped the entire game without lifting a single finger. You see, they were banking on you folding first. That was the script. They push, you react. They ignore, you chase. They detach, you panic. But when you refused to play, when you broke the rhythm they depended on, it wasn't just unexpected. It was destabilizing, because their power came from your attention. Their leverage came from your emotional investment. And now that fuel is gone, the fire's out, and the only thing left is their own empty ego, staring back at them with nothing to feed on. Stoicism teaches us that power isn't about force, it's about restraint. The person who can remain unmoved in the face of disrespect holds the real control. And you did exactly that. You didn't need to scream to be heard. You didn't need to lash out to be felt. You didn't need to show up to prove anything. You removed your energy, and in doing so, you removed their grip on your peace. Now, they're the ones stuck checking their phone, waiting for the notification, wondering if maybe they missed something. But it never comes. Because your silence isn't just silence anymore. It's a message, a declaration, a quiet signal that says, I've seen enough. I don't chase chaos. I don't entertain confusion. I move in peace now. And here's what's beautiful about it. You didn't win by playing dirtier. You didn't stoop to their level. You just stopped showing up to battles that weren't worth your soul. That kind of shift. That's power. That's growth. That's what they weren't ready for. Carl Jung said, "You do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And you, my friend, faced the darkness of your own heartbreak, your own confusion, your own need for closure. And You sat with it. You made peace with it. And when you did, you became untouchable. That's what's flipping the game. They were waiting for a breakdown, and instead they're watching your glow up in silence. They thought the lack of a fight meant they won. What they didn't realize is, when you stop fighting, it's not because you gave up. It's because you outgrew the arena. And now they're left shadow boxing with ghosts, confused by your calm, haunted by your absence. And yes, they're starting to regret it. Not just because they lost you, but because they lost the version of you that cared enough to stay. That kind of loss hits hard, not right away, but when they realize no one else moves with your class. No one else walks away with that kind of grace. No one else responds with nothing but silence, and yet somehow says everything. Write this in the comments. I flipped the game with silence. Let it be a reminder, a mark of your discipline, because you didn't need to destroy anyone to reclaim your peace. You just needed to stop showing up where you were once expected to break. Stay composed. Stay elevated. Stay in control. Number 8. They thought you'd break. Now they're the one who's cracking. They thought you'd fall apart the second they pulled away, that you'd crack under the silence, that you'd fold just to feel seen again. But you didn't. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. You didn't lose yourself trying to hold on to someone who clearly didn't know your worth. And now, that image they had of you, fragile, desperate, easy to break, it's shattered. Because the one they thought would crumble is the one who stayed solid. And the one who played it cold. They're the one cracking slowly, painfully behind the curtain of performance. That's the twist, isn't it? They assumed silence would destroy you, but it became your power. You used it like a shield. You used it like a reset button. You sat in your own pain without demanding answers. You didn't explode. You evolved. That calmness, that inner stillness, it wasn't weakness. It was the beginning of your rise, and they can feel it, even from afar. That shift in your energy, that absence of chaos, that refusal to break. Now the roles are reversed. The one who expected control is out of control. The one who thought they had options is haunted by memories, and the one who assumed you were just too emotional is waking up at 2 a.m., wondering how they ever thought they could replace someone like you. See, your silence forced them to face themselves. No distractions, no drama, just their own reflection, and the uncomfortable truth that they lost something real. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what's happening to them now. They're being forced to make the unconscious conscious. The games, the deflection, the way they pushed you away thinking you'd never walk for good. All of it is circling back. Because silence doesn't erase guilt. It amplifies it. And here's the poetic part. Now they're the one waiting, checking their phone, overthinking your absence, wondering if maybe they should reach out, wondering if someone else is holding the heart they once thought was guaranteed. They didn't expect to miss you this deeply. They didn't think you'd actually move on. But that's the price of underestimating someone who loved with sincerity and left with dignity. They thought you'd break, but now they're breaking under the pressure of their own mistakes, under the weight of silence that won't let them rest, under the reality that you're no longer playing the old role. And yes, they're coming back. Some already are, quietly, indirectly, liking old pictures, sending that "hope you're well" message, fishing for an opening. Because the moment they felt your energy slip out of their grasp, the game ended. And here's what it all comes down to. Your silence became your power, and they never saw it coming. While they expected you to break, you chose peace. And in that peace, you reclaimed everything they tried to take. Now, they're the ones haunted, cracking under the weight of your absence. So, if this spoke to your soul, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs the reminder, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss what's next. Stay silent, stay sharp, and, as always, stay ahead. Your power is only getting louder.